special thanks to the Christian Children's Home of Ohio for sponsoring the third place. For more information, go to ccho.org. That's ccho.org.
Christian Children's Home of Ohio provides a safe environment where children can find healing, discover hope, and experience unconditional love through certified trauma therapies designed to meet the needs of each child. Our 165-acre Worcester campus includes 4 cottages that are home to as many as 46 at-risk youth whose lives have been turned upside down by abuse, neglect, and trauma. We focus on helping residents build skills to live productive lives and reintegrate back into the community.
This is the Third Place Podcast. I'm Brian Dolan, and this is Lauren Cuevas.
Home is your first place, work is your second place, and this is your third place, where the Christian community in Northeast Ohio gathers.
And if you knew the ordeal we went through just to get this episode going, wow. Okay, so we have 2 friends here with us. I don't know who to introduce first, an attorney or a pastor. They're pointing at each other. Reverend Scott Lessing from Grace Church in Middleburg Heights and their prison campus at Lorraine Correctional. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome.
You're one of our first guests.
Thanks for inviting me.
I can't call you our first guest because it's tied with
It's shared.
Attorney Nathan Zion Esquire of Mulhall Zion LLC, a boutique law firm in Northeast Ohio.
Perfectly read, Brian. Thank you.
So
Why boutique?
Because we don't do everything. We specialize in a couple areas.
Never asked that question before.
Really?
I know.
I thought it just meant you guys were
That's
like
why
a
I
little
was like,
cute.
oh,
Yeah, a little.
It does mean that too, I guess. Maybe that's how people read it.
That's what you were going for?
I wanted clarity on it because of that. I was like, boutique? Like,
Oh.
I need more information on that.
Do you guys
And
sell like
that's better.
purses?
Like,
Or?
now I would go there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad I
Sandals?
convinced you. It's that easy.
So now here you are on the show with us. How long did it take to get started with this episode? Anyone want to share?
Anyone?
Like 23 minutes.
It's 26.
Of what? You want to describe it for those who weren't here for that?
I think we should post the video.
Yeah, we're going to post it.
Yes.
We're going to post it for Patreon members.
Right.
Like in all the Pixar or the Disney films where at the end they roll the credits and then there's something happening behind the
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We should do that here.
I like
we
that.
totally should.
It's 30 minutes of chaos.
But now
So,
people want updates on what's happening with all of us.
yes.
Since you're the lady in the room, you should go first.
Okay. It really says on our sheet that you're going first, but that's fine.
You expect me to read the sheet suddenly now that we're in a podcast together, not on the radio?
Updates for me. I started my other new job on Monday.
Congrats.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
Yes, I'm working at the city mission. So, very excited.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm acting like I didn't know that
Yeah, you've
somehow.
known for a long time.
Yeah. Boy, when did that happen? No, it happened
Monday.
almost right away.
Yes, it
After the
did.
old show was shut down, you got snatched up right away, and it's a great place to work.
Yep, I'm really enjoying myself. I haven't done much of my actual job yet, just like learning and training, but it's fun.
What's your actual job going to be?
I'm the executive assistant to the CEO, Linda U. Vegas.
That's awesome.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Lauren's a big deal.
And so is Linda.
She is.
Lots
Linda's
of big deal.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what else? What else has changed?
That's
It's
it.
been a month.
that's all that's changed for me. And this. A
Yeah, we
lot
got
of
our
my
little
month has
office
been
here.
This.
Yeah, and so you want to talk about how we got the little studio space?
Yes, I was driving down the road, and I saw a sign that said $295 per month, and I said,
It's my
that?
kind of place.
I said, what's that? Because we were talking about a place for an office, something. And we were looking for somewhere between the two of us. And that didn't happen. It's 5 minutes from my house. So, sorry,
you
Brian.
won out.
Yeah, I went out.
Good for you.
Sorry, Brian.
You have young kids. It's
Yeah. I was just driving down the road, and I saw $295 studio for a month. And I said, oh my gosh. Called Brian right away. Called the guy, and he said, yeah, just walk in, go see what you think. And we signed the papers like the next day, I think.
Yeah, and thanks to your generosity, we've got all the equipment we need. It's taken me a while to get it working right. Still not working right. I
But
want to
that's not your
scooch
issue,
in.
that's Brian's issue.
I want to scooch in, but I'm afraid the camera was going
Yeah,
to
don't do anything.
This
Don't
camera's
do- yeah,
been
don't move.
chasing around.
Literally don't move. Don't put your hands up.
If I'm sitting here really still and weird, it's because I'm afraid of the camera moving. So
Updates for you, Brian.
updates for me. Not a whole lot's going on. I don't have a full-time job right now. Maybe this will be it. Who knows what the Lord will do. But I have a little bit more time to make that
Double.
decision. Yeah, double the time that you have.
Yeah.
And let's see, my oldest daughter, Grace, we're going to be going to
People
Georgia.
want Grace updates.
Yeah, so she is in AIT, which in the biz, in the military, we call that, she would be so mad at me. We call that advanced infantry training. So she is learning how to be in the infantry. So we'll go in the middle of July back to Georgia. She'll graduate from that and officially move from trainee to soldier in the United States Army. And then she'll do airborne training where she jumps out of perfectly good airplanes. And once that's done, she'll be in the 82nd Airborne.
Wow.
Now, she will be coming home for a couple of... I was so afraid the camera was going to move when I
Don't
scratched
scratch
myself.
your nose.
What if I have an itch, Lauren? What if I need to...
Don't do that. Why are you still doing that?
And she's going to be home for a couple weeks in August before she leaves to join the 82nd Airborne. So maybe she'll come on the show.
That'd be fun.
We can talk about military stuff.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know. What other updates do I have? Do I have other ones?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you do and don't want to share, so I'm not going to say anything out loud.
I mean, I don't really do anything.
You've been doing this.
I've got projects at home.
Yes.
Mayor
Working on
Phil
chicken
from
coop?
Armandoville brought me another load of wood. What
It's
a great
really
guy.
not a chicken coop. It's a chicken house.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's a
could.
home.
It's large. I could live in it, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But I wanted to build it right, so
yeah, like
You built a chicken coop?
yeah.
it's huge.
Wow.
My children went inside and like stood up.
Wow. Like, can you compare it to the she shed,
Well, I mean,
like size wise?
since we're doing it differently now, I could be like, let me show you it right now. Here's the picture of it. And like when I go
Yes.
back, I can make
You
the
can
picture of it
put it-
right here. I'll have to show you later, Scott, because
All right.
I'm afraid if I take my phone out, the camera's going to move around. It's got this auto track thing. Anyway, it's big. It's
It's huge.
shaped like a rectangle.
It's like bigger than like a doghouse.
That's
Oh.
impressive.
Yeah,
How many chickens do you have in there?
0.
Do you plan to have in there?
Yeah, we're going to get, I don't know, upwards of like 20 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. I'm afraid to even move my glasses right now. I thought about it. I was like, should I move my glasses? They're sliding.
So,
We want you to see.
Well, I know.
but now you ought to give a couple of quick updates before we talk to our guests about topic-y things, about all the things that are available. Our website, by
Yes.
the time this is released, our website should be launched.
Yes, someone generously donated their time to build a website for us. We know someone who is in web development, so they were like, hey,
It's amazing.
I see you guys want a website. I'd like to do it for you guys. So we're working on that. It should be launched, I don't know, this week probably. But if you like the show, you should be sure to rate, review, subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, because that's how people find us. If a show has like 0 ratings, it's not going to be found by other people. So you rate, review, and subscribe so other people can find us. And if you love the show, we have a Patreon, which is like a members club.
Yeah, it's like a club where you can have a level of membership
there's
to get extras.
3 different tiers, 5, 10, and 15, and you get different things with each one. The first level, you get like behind the scenes content. You get a
like
cold,
26 minutes of us trying to fix the camera.
yeah, a cold open of the show. So like, oh, what's all like behind the scenes happenings before the show starts, and any other things we decide to add in there. You'll get all of that and ad-free podcasts, so you can listen on the Patreon
that's cool.
website, and you won't get the ads that we'll do here in just a few minutes, at the beginning and or middle. Okay. Then if you go to the $10 one, you get Ron and Daria. If you want Ron, you got to pay for him.
We want more Ron.
Ron, you got to pay for Ron and Daria. So they're going to be uploading content onto Patreon with us. So if you want the more Ron moment, you got to pay $10 a month, and you will get at least 2, if not more Ron moments every month.
That's cool.
And then Daria is going to do some blogging for us. She's already sent me a couple videos. She's going to post some Jimmy stories. So, and then the 15 is you get all of those things plus Pause for Prayer. So we're going to continue the Pause for Prayer ministry. So that'll be coming as well. And you'll get probably 4 Pause for Prayers per month, 1 a week. But you have to do one of those tiers. And the $15 one is the Pause for Prayer tier. So you can do that by going to patreon.com/the Third Place Podcast. It'll also be in our show notes, the description, all of that.
I love that.
And did you give the URL for the website, Lauren?
Stainedglass-media.com.
Don't forget the hyphen.
Please. Stainedglass-media.com.
What if you don't put the dash in there?
That does not us.
It's somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Stainedglass mulhall-media.com.
I was hoping you'd put the triple W's at the beginning.
www. dot
They're very good.
World Wide Web. Dot.
https:///
Forward slash, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
Either way.
I would say yes. He's the attorney. Detail oriented.
The other day, I was texting with Brian about something we were talking with Nathan about.
Here we go.
And Brian said, I think he's wrong. It's what he said. And then
About Nathan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he sent me a
We need to know.
screenshot, and it was of Google AI's answer to the question. And I said, oh, so we're believing Google AI versus Nathan now?
Sometimes
this should
we
be
do.
tier 4. Tier 4 should be Brian's musings on your way home.
Oh my God.
And just record your thoughts of what you thought of the show.
Or the guests. Or,
Yeah, yes, that would be
his
great.
ramblings.
$20, that'd be. I would love to hear
His
Brian's
text
musings.
to me about both of you.
Yep.
I think he's wrong.
Now, you need to talk about the set
What?
because we had to design this set, and you wanted me to sit in some chair.
Yes, because Brian's on a wheelie office chair right now.
And she objected to this. She didn't want me in
His
an
whole
office
entire
chair.
little situation over there is ergonomic.
No,
Yes,
I
it
have
is.
the things. Look I got this thing. You can't see it, but it's just like a soundboard here.
Yeah, you couldn't put that on your lap. Like you
What am I
need.
supposed?
you
Yeah, I'm
need
supposed
it.
to
No, I was
hang
fine
onto
with
it.
this.
Put it on like a guitar.
This guy.
And I'm used to
Like a
sitting.
guitar?
I need my things, you know.
So he built himself a little desk, and then he needed an office chair, which you can't see, which is fine.
Which she was so outraged that I would want an office chair on a podcast set.
Ugly.
She thinks it's ugly, number one. And so I showed her a picture. Your mic's falling. Are you okay?
I know. Sorry.
The set is still a work in progress.
I'm gonna bring my books and put them down there. Oh,
Oh no!
Oh.
Try to make it move over there.
hello. It won't.
See,
No, stop.
I'm doing it.
No, we're continuing to record. This is too much.
keep going. Talk amongst yourselves.
You're the host.
Someone has to narrate for the audio listeners here.
Yeah, what's happening is our webcam does tracking, and we don't know what
Like
hand
auto-tracking.
Auto tracking. Oh, and we don't know what hand
It just
gestures.
went back by itself.
We don't know what hand gestures
Maybe if you say
sets
the
it
word.
off. Auto tracking. We don't know what sets it off, so it's going a little willy nilly. We'll figure it out one day. That day is not today, so we're just pushing through.
Yeah,
if you
because
see
we
our
got to get
window,
launched.
sorry about it.
Yeah, there's a window right over. I'm not going to point to it though.
Don't.
Don't even look at
It's over
it.
there. It's over there. Yeah, and so you ordered our little set.
Yeah, I ordered our set. We have a little couch, my chair. We have a little sign, the Third Place podcast. You'll see that one day. I'm
It
gonna
looks
hang up.
great. You guys did a great
It
job.
does look awesome.
Oh,
Brian hung all
thank
this
you.
curtains, so it's great.
Yeah, it would have been faster if you did it,
Probably.
but you let me do it, basically.
Yes.
Thank you. So one of the big topics we do have to talk about, in all seriousness, we have to talk about the federal court decision. Federal court?
Talking about, yes, the state
EdChoice.
court.
It's a state court.
This is Ohio. Yes.
I almost knew what I was talking about in terms of lawyer things. So our friend Nathan Zion here came with a wonderful topic for us, and it has to do with school choice in Ohio. Give us the 30,000-foot view. What's happening with school choice?
Yeah, so in the state of Ohio, students can basically apply for a scholarship and get money to go to private schools rather than their public schools. And it's called EdChoice, and then there's the EdChoice expansion. But essentially, it's income-based, and so most students in the state of Ohio, they can apply. And so if you choose a private school that you want to send your kid to, assuming you qualify and get accepted by the school, then you can apply and get either $6,000 to up to $6,000 if you're K through 8, or if you're in high school, you can get up to $8,100 or $8,400, I think, towards tuition of that. There's a lawsuit basically that was filed in 2022 that tried to find that, or is seeking to invalidate that EdChoice program. And so it's seeking to just rule it unconstitutional. And there's a ruling that came out 2 days ago that found that it is unconstitutional. And so now there's, as you can imagine, an uproar amongst people who are relying on maybe the tuition to even send their kids to private school. And they're worried what's going to happen. So that'll be appealed. And I thought that'd be a great topic to talk about what's the value of private education, what are the legal ramifications of that, and whatnot.
Well, what happens during the appeal process? Is there they call it an injunction, right? Where
Yeah.
so are schools allowed to still accept the voucher?
Yeah. So the judge thankfully had enough sense to know that this is going to be appealed. I mean, and so she stayed the ruling and essentially said, while these appeals play out, none of this is going to take effect. So the law is still on the books. If you qualified for 2025, until the appeals happen and there's a final resolution, which it'll probably go all the way up to the Supreme Court of Ohio, which will take a year. We won't have a good answer for a year. Everything's supposed to just move forward as kind of keep the status quo. So nothing will happen until the Supreme Court rules on it.
Now, I mean, Ohioans for the most part are in favor of this. Public school advocates don't like it.
Yeah.
Why would this be deemed unconstitutional?
Well, there's legal nuances that we can go into. I'll try to avoid those as much as possible.
No,
but-
I speak Latin. I'd like you to speak Latin.
Well, so we have a constitution, and it doesn't allow us to, even if we like the policy decisions behind some of the things we do, we still have to stay within the bounds of the Constitution. And basically, there are two main arguments that are made against this that says it's not following the Ohio Constitution. So even if you think you should be able to have school choice, go to a private school, yada, yada, putting those policy arguments aside, you still have to play within the bounds of the Constitution or amend the Constitution to accommodate for this. And so there's a lot of legal arguments, but the main one is basically that this, what they call voucher program, but it's really like a scholarship, it sets up another system of schools. So we already have the Ohio-run public school system, right? Everyone has that, can go to those schools. But what this funding does is it, in their view, creates another set of schools. And that's against the Constitution. The Constitution calls for just one common school system. And so by doing this scholarship program, they're arguing, hey, we've got two school systems. We're only allowed to have one. So therefore, this is invalidated. That's the main argument they've made.
But wouldn't the system itself be deemed by where the money goes, not by? So, but
well, that's why they're calling it. So they're saying follow the money, and it goes to private schools. So therefore, the state is endorsing and paying
because
for private
the state's
schooling.
giving the vouchers out.
Yeah.
Because the education department is giving money to private schools.
Yeah.
But although I don't know if people realize this, that the local public school still does get some funding
Correct.
per student. All the funding doesn't leave.
Correct.
So if the voucher goes to a private school nearby, they still get some money.
They do. Now, the ruling goes into the disparity between that, and it's there's enough evidence to convince the judge that so much money is going to these EdChoice private schools that the public schools are suffering greatly because the amount, if you kind of do it on a per capita basis and whittle down how much money is being paid per pupil, per student, it's total disparity. In the public schools, they're getting a lot less, like $2,000 or $3,000 per school. It varies by district compared to the $6,000 or $8,000 that goes per person under the EdChoice. So there is kind of a disparity that they've shown. I don't know that legally invalidates it, but the judge was convinced by that.
What's your take on it?
Well, I think this is going to probably be reversed. I don't think the legal reasoning in the decision is firm enough to hold. So I do think it'll be overturned. But I do think the legislature should do some stuff to kind of answer these questions and fill in the gaps to make sure that it's valid and constitutional. We'd probably have support for a constitutional amendment. I would imagine we would, but I don't know.
Could they put a cap on how much goes toward each voucher?
They could, but the problem, the way it's designed, a part of the thrust of the decision was because the Ohio Department of Education funnels money straight to the private schools instead of going to the parents and then the parents being reimbursed or paying it to that. Because it's directly to the private schools, they say that that's invalid and basically unconstitutional.
Because the state's sending money.
Because the state's paying private schools. And then there's another clause in the Constitution that says private schools shouldn't have exclusive control over or right to these funds for schooling. And so by doing this EdChoice, they're essentially handing the money to the schools and giving them authority over it.
Is there any evidence of that this is way more money than the public school or private schools need?
No, I didn't see
Is it really how much they would need to operate?
Yeah, no, it's not. And I guess, it comes down to just what your policy is. Do you want to support private schools or not? I really think. And I think the judge was persuaded that, no, we still want to support the public schools because there is evidence that public schools are kind of being pillaged a little bit here. And the private schools are being supported a lot. And were that not the case, these public schools would get new roofs, new HVAC systems. They'd have a lot of facility improvements and other things that they don't have. They're losing out on. So I don't know the solution for it, but I do think it'll probably be reversed, but it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, I think, will have to take it and answer.
But the legislature could jump in and fix the problem by amending the Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a big move, and it would take some time to do.
But then, like, what's the limit? You have 2 school systems, 3, 4. After you go past 1, then when do you stop?
Yeah, I don't know the answers to these questions, but
You would only prefer one school system?
No, I'm just saying if you're amending the Constitution to say, then how many do you say? You can have 2
Right.
school systems or multiple school systems or what?
yeah, I think I don't know that you need to clarify that section of the Constitution. You just build it out to allow and say, hey, even money directed at schools, that does not violate this. You can kind of clarify the clause. There's a lot of, I want to say vagary, but there's some vague terms in the Constitution that have never been fleshed out. And so all of this is riding on those things. What does common fund mean? What does a common school system mean? What does exclusive right to or control of? What do those terms mean? That's never really been fleshed out fully. And so if that were done, maybe we'd have more clarity. And if we got clarification on that.
So there isn't much precedent in the courts already for knowing what those words mean in the Constitution because no one has had court cases about that.
And there have been a couple court cases, but it's not, I think of U.S. Supreme Court cases where we have, the right to free speech. We have volumes and volumes of cases on that. EdChoice and the voucher programs have only been around since the late 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s. And so we've only had 20 to 30 years to work this out, and there weren't really too many cases on it. There's one, I think it was a 99 decision that's kind of they relied on, but other than that, there's not much there. So and it makes me just think of from a policy perspective, though, as a Christian, what do I want to support? Put aside the legalities of it. Like, do I want to support a private school system? And not one universal, like each private school is their own entity, obviously. But do I want to support that and take away funds and potentially students from the public schools? Or should I be building into and supporting local public schools? I don't know.
And yet it's also a question of whether or not, like how much say parents ought to have in where their tax dollars go for the education of their children in their community.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the larger question is people want to be able to say, listen, I'm paying these taxes. I'd like to direct the tax money for my student to this place. Because let's be honest, there are some urban schools that are totally failing their population. And there's some private schools in Northeast Ohio that are serving well the students who have been failed by some of our public schools.
Yep.
And I don't want to call out specific communities, but there are some large urban communities that really are failing schools.
Oh, yeah.
And so there have been people trapped in poverty that have been able to get out of a terrible school system and get a better education. And so isn't that the goal of a society, right? Is to be able to give students a better education or a great education. What do you do when a public school system is failing? The solution thus far has been just give more money to it. And giving more money to problems doesn't always solve them. So I don't know what the perfect solution is. But I think it's important to remember, right, the role of courts. You should talk a little bit about that because Lauren and I totally geek out and listen to one of our favorite podcasts, Advisory Opinions, because it makes us feel like we're lawyers.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, we've heard a lot of episodes.
We are the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, justice, whatever. It's a 6-3 split. It's
right.
Objection. So,
Johnson. The
what?
other guy, Johnson. There's a Johnson
Where?
on the Supreme Court. Isn't
No,
there? Another J name.
there should be.
It's a J name.
Jackson.
Jackson.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
That's what she meant. It's
So I said-
Jackson. Nathan, she meant Jackson.
Can you list them all? Please.
If I sat there and thought about it, yeah, I
Come on,
could.
let's try.
Sonia Sotomayor,
Yeah, of course.
Ketanji Brown Jackson, Kagan, Chief Justice Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and who was
Barrett.
Yes, thank
Tony
you.
Barrett.
Oh, I have applause here.
You can't hear it, but it's
You
fine.
guys can't hear it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
Does
was
it ever
great.
stop?
That was really impressive.
And you didn't even think at all. You just had it.
It's funny though. I referred to a couple of them by last name, and then others by the full first
Thomas
name. Or
Alito.
something. Yeah, it's just kind of funny how that becomes their name. But
Since Lauren and I are legal experts now,
We are.
thanks to
Yeah.
the Advisory Opinions podcast, when you look at that, they have to remind people all
Friend
the
of the
time
pod.
that the court is not, like the Supreme Court in particular, is not deciding cases. They're answering questions.
Yeah. So cases.
Yeah. Thank you. I was right, is what he said. Oh, the camera went again.
Please, Nathan, answer the question.
So
while he
cases
does
and
this.
controversies is like the phrase, but
Oh.
yeah, they have their courts are typically supposed to limit their decision to the case at hand, right? But they also, when it comes to the Supreme Court, should I keep talking?
Yes.
Okay.
Please do.
It's hard for me because I'm watching
I'm
behind
trying to look
you.
at you, but watching.
So hard.
Like it's fighting me.
Just walk this way.
Yeah. I
Just
told you
a
not to
second.
raise your hands.
Yeah, it's all right. He got excited when he got
did, when he
something
got an
correct.
answer
Yeah,
right.
he's like, yeah, right.
It was the advisory thing.
Advisory opinions.
Yeah, that's what got them all worked
This is
up.
a set. Hold on.
A set.
Oh my gosh. Thank
Did
you.
it follow?
Yeah, now don't look at me.
Of course it's going to follow you.
Lauren, you get up. You get up.
Is whoever stands up?
Hello. Okay, we're moving on and letting Nathan
We're
finish.
moving on. Finish, Nate. Go ahead.
The Supreme Court is supposed to.
That's impressive.
What is?
Listening
That
all
you
nine.
went
I
right
know.
back in.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, sorry. The Supreme Court has to answer this the question at hand, but they also know that they're kind of setting policy for the entire country and how a certain law will be applied, right? So they have to answer the specific plaintiffs and their case, but then they also have to think, well, what's the effect of this? But they have to do that in a very measured way, and sometimes they don't do it as measured as we'd like, and other times they do it too measured. Here we're talking about the Ohio State Supreme Court, so it's a little bit different, but they still have the same kind of thing where they have to weigh out those two options. So I don't know, Brian, what you're getting at, but basically the Supreme Court's going to ultimately, I think, have to weigh in on this and decide. But the struggle that I have is courts are not policy-making bodies, and I think that's what
Yes,
kind of you were
that's
driving
probably
at.
what I was
Yes.
going to.
Is that's the job for us as the people through the legislature, right? And so if we want to promote public schools over private schools or private over public, or we don't care or whatnot, that should be done, through our representatives rather than through some sort of judgment. Now, I feel that this case is a little bit more policy oriented. I think the decision was a little bit more, although the evidence points this way, and I am not a fan. I can reading into the decision, the judge's feelings, that she feels it's a little bit too, I don't want to say onerous, but too disparaging to public schools, and that she would like to see that. And so that's why she was persuaded with their arguments. I don't know, if that's really her true belief, but that's kind of what I feel. And so courts just have to walk a tightrope, and they have to, be diligent in following the law and not making their own personal policy decisions. Sometimes it's hard to do.
Because they're technically supposed to just interpret the existing law.
Yeah, but like I mentioned before, there are these clauses that, some of them have never even been ruled on, right? So
Yeah.
you go to like Merriam-Webster's dictionary and you're looking up a word to try and explain why you're defining it this way. So not that that's necessarily an issue here, but you do have to consider all things at some level and make an appropriate decision. Thankfully, we're at the trial court level, which is they oftentimes get things wrong, and that's why we have appeals. That's why we have the Supreme Court, so that things can be reversed and overturned. And I think that will be the case here.
But the end of the road for this case is the Ohio Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, so we're in state law. All of these claims were state law claims. None of them were like federal constitution. So there was like a segregation claim. There's a claim that the effect of the EdChoice program basically pushes white students into private schools and leaves public schools with minority students. That was one of the arguments that was raised. That didn't invalidate the law. She didn't find enough support for that, but there was that argument. Regardless of that, though, they argued that on the Constitution of Ohio, not the federal Constitution. So this will end with Ohio State Court unless we get into some constitutional issue that the United States Supreme Court overrules, which is unlikely.
Because I don't think the U.S. Constitution has no clause about education.
Well, it wouldn't control the state-run education, right? But there could be, I mean, if we start getting into, racial issues like discrimination on race or sex or gender, all that stuff, then at that point, then the U.S. Supreme Court, their precedent would govern because that supersedes state law. But we probably won't fall into that.
I mean, for transparency's sake, I serve on the board at Summit Christian School in Cuyahoga Falls.
Sure.
Where we're broadcasting from right now, Cuyahoga Falls.
That's right.
And the idea that the voucher system here, what's that name of it?
EdChoice?
EdChoice.
Yeah.
That EdChoice somehow favors white students is ignorant and outrageous.
Yeah.
Because Summit Christian School is an incredibly diverse school. And they didn't pay for this, by the way. This is me just saying it. I'm on the board. It's incredibly diverse school, and it actually does a service to an underserved community that has failing public schools.
Yeah.
So these students are able to be bused to Summit Christian School and get a better education.
Yep.
So this actually would hurt impoverished students if that's the case.
Yeah.
Not to even talk about like if the real problem was going to be solved, it's how we fund public schooling to begin with. Using property taxes as a way to value the amount of money a school district gets, that creates inequality more than anything else. But nobody's talking about trying to fix that.
Well, and I will defend school systems in the sense that they lost. There was another law change a couple of years ago about property tax valuations and challenging that, and the school boards lost out on that because that was a huge revenue builder for them. They could go in and they could, if there was a sale of a commercial property and it doubled in value or something to that extent, they could file a complaint and then get the taxes of that parcel bumped up and then get the revenue from that, right? And so school boards all over the state would do this. They check the recorder's office, look for this, and try to get more revenue through that. That kind of got pared down a little bit over the last couple of years. So I'm sure public schools are bleeding a little bit more than they otherwise would because of that, and now the EdChoice expansion, which is recent development now. So I feel for them. It's just a question of how do we solve it? What's the solution?
I mean, one of the solutions is to people will go to great schools.
Yeah.
And so if public school wants more people there, they should create a better environment.
Yeah, and then I think the counter argument is, well, we need more money to actually hire people in, right? Because there's less incentive for good teachers to go to those places. So we need to spend more money, perhaps to hire the right staff and right people to come in and change the culture of the school.
And
there's validity to that.
The counter argument to that is that private school educators are paid way less than public school educators and are able to create a great.
And they're doing it. They're creating that space that is a better, compared to some public schools, a better place, a better environment.
Well, and we're not even talking about like a religious component to things too.
Right.
I mean, I have children, and I value that when they go to school, they learn from people who are biblically based, right? These ideas in scripture, and they go to a private school that promotes all that stuff. Some people don't care about that as much, but to me, that's of value. You can't get that in a public school. If I sent my kids to a normal public school, they wouldn't get teachings on Genesis or on this or that, right? And so there's value to that. But what is that value, and how should it be promoted? I don't have an answer for that. And I do know that with this, there's also a new development with, have you heard of LifeWise Academy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? There's all the uproar about LifeWise. I think you guys have talked about it. That released period during public schools, that might be a good solution for public schools, is you can send your kid to public schools and then get that hour during the day where they go and they learn whatever curriculum, is like promoted by a LifeWise entity. So there are options, but there's, no clear-cut solution that we can all agree on, I think.
Yeah, and I was a public school educator for a while too, and I was in a great public school teaching, and I'm totally biased because I was teaching there, so of course I'll say it's great. But you and I going back and forth because I think it's difficult to resolve this issue. There are valid disagreements on both sides of it. The goal ought to be ensuring that all American kids have an access to an equal, great education in some measure.
Yes.
But our school system has struggled for decades to create an environment that's equal for everyone.
Yeah.
And so I don't know quite how to fix that. And then at the same time, I could turn to our resident theologian, Lauren, and say that,
Hello.
oh yeah, Pastor Scott,
Hello.
are you here? Hello?
Oh my gosh.
But no, I mean, it's not the church's job, nor is it the school's job to educate our children on who the Lord is in a relationship with him, right? And so if you're relegating the job of a Christian education to a school, you're not doing your job as a parent. Is that too harsh?
I don't know. I mean, because the church is the people, right? It's not a building. And if we are living communally, then it kind of is the responsibility of the church. Like you're saying it's the responsibility of the parents to do that in the home. I agree with that. But I think it's more than that. When we talk about how are we teaching kids about Jesus, it is the church's responsibility in the sense that you don't just send them to kids' church, or you don't just send them to a kids' ministry.
Right.
But like you're in a small group and you're all those families in there, like it is their responsibility to live life together and to teach Jesus to the kids around them, right? So I think it's a both and. It's the individual families in their homes, and it is the responsibility of the church. I mean, that's what 2 Corinthians 3:16-17 says, that what the scriptures do, the teaching, the equipping. So I think it's a both and. I get where you're coming from, but I do think it is partly the church's responsibility.
Before we keep rolling, by the way, special thanks to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by the Christian Children's Home of Ohio, because every child, speaking of children, deserves to feel safe, seen, and loved, and that's exactly what the Christian Children's Home of Ohio provides through Christ-centered residential care, counseling, and foster services. They walk with children from hard places, offering healing and hope through excellent clinical care and deep compassion. If you believe every child has worth, visit ccho.org. That's ccho.org. And you can learn more how you can help them create this environment for kids. And I had a chance to visit there recently, and it was absolutely spectacular. And it was a good reminder, too, that there are children in certain environments that are not going to go home to a healthy place where they can learn spiritual things and such.
Right.
So as we look at this larger issue, tying together pastoral issues, legal issues, talk to parents about our job. We can't just say, I'm not going to teach you about Jesus here. That's what church is for. So what is the balance?
Or if they go to a Christian school, that's what school's for.
Right. So what's the healthy balance? Where does it come in?
Yeah, I think you have to have a balance, but I don't know. I have some other thoughts on the public school system.
Okay.
That I think it's great that they want to fight for one system or however they're talking about it, but they need to clean up the system. And I'm not saying that as a Christian. I'm just saying in general. I mean, you have I forget what the ratings are. How many different levels of ratings. So if you live in an area where the school rating is like the lowest, that they get an equal amount of money to that school system as the school system that gets the best rating per child, I would imagine.
Per child, yeah, it's
right. And if that's true, that's an unfair system. So we're giving money to an unfair system, especially for the ones that have a lower ranking. And sometimes those lower rankings are in poorer areas, not always. And it's not always urban. The rural areas have some bad systems as well. And so it would be disappointing if this were the final ruling. And there already is a more than one system because there's a ranking within the system, right? So that ranking within the system makes it a more than one system already. So why not be able to give it to, the private schools, Christian or non-Christian, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of non-Christian private schools, even right here in Northeast Ohio, that you could send your kids to. And so I think that it's a bad ruling, in my opinion, just because it's already a messed up system. It's not a one system already.
Well, and I think any child in Ohio can qualify for this, right? At some level. It depending on the income, they might get phased out of what amount they get.
Correct.
But this isn't separating between the Christians can get this or only white people can get it. It's across the board equal. Yep. It's just that we see more Christians and traditionally the white Christians who are using it, I suppose, who go to these private schools. And so this idea of all these people in these bad schools, this gives them the opportunity to go to a Summit Christian, right? Somewhere else and get out. And if they have to travel further or get bused somehow. I mean, that's logistical issues that come up. I get it. But it's across the board, I think, a good thing, in a way, an avenue for them to get out of a failing school system. I would agree.
Yeah.
So I just don't see it as black and white as, oh, you know, it's only available to these people.
And yet, you know, among us here, we have various decisions we've all made. My kids are public school students, and you and Eddie are intentional about public school. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Both my husband Eddie and I went to Christian schools growing up, different types. I went to like a traditional Christian school. He went to one, I don't know what it's called, where like you do a workbook by yourself and you just kind of like work your own way through school, but there's like a teacher in the classroom to like help if you have questions. I don't know. I don't
Sounds
know what
pretty
it's called.
horrible, actually.
Moderated homeschooling or
Yeah,
something.
kind of, yeah. But they went to school every day, and they had sports and stuff like that still. But
He turned out great. He's really smart.
right. But it was both Christian school experiences, and we've, for now, things can change, have decided to send our children to public school, because my value is, well, what happens when all the Christians pull out of public schools?
Yep.
Then who's left? And what families, what teachers, what administrators, what kids are left to be the light of Jesus to the people in the public schools, to be different, to look different, to act different. When I go in to have parent-teacher conversations, or I have play dates with my son's friends and their moms or something, we want to be the people that are different. And if all the Christians leave public schools, I don't think that's what we're called to do either. I don't think we're supposed to just leave an entire community of people just to be left alone without any Christian influence. So that's why we've chosen to do that. And I know a lot of people don't like that. I know a lot of people are like, well, you're opening up your kids to see children become transgender, and you're opening up your kids to see people be gay. And like, okay, I'm ready for those conversations. I'm ready to have those conversations with my child in my home while he's still under my influence, and while he's still willing to listen to me instead of sending him out into the world and he's never experienced that in his life and he doesn't know what to do about it. So
And the reality is they're going to experience those things anyway.
yeah, I went to Christian school and I did.
Right.
So.
I mean, so we did the same through 6th grade for our kids. They were in the public school system. So
Yeah.
But then you went to a private Christian school.
correct. Yeah.
Why? You don't have to answer that, by the way, but
Oh, I don't mind answering it.
But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah. Brian's great at that.
you don't have
Let
to
me ask
answer.
and then say you don't have to answer.
I mean, for one of our kids, the school system, to be very frank, failed our family. The public school system failed our family. So we really didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
We fought for it within the public school system before we left. And we did that for one of our kids, and our other child, we let them choose. You know, you can go to either one, whatever you want to do. So it was very individualized. It wasn't just a, broad brush that this is what we're going to do for our family.
Yeah,
and that would be okay too. But for us, we had the same belief, and we felt very strongly about that. It was actually a very, very difficult decision for us to leave the public school system. Because of our conviction on that, but it was a great decision for us and for both of our kids. Ended up going to private Christian school, 7th grade through 12th grade, and it was a great decision but it was a good decision to be in the public school too. We have friends that we're having dinner with tomorrow night who are still friends of ours from the public school system because of that. So
And you have like our friends like Nathan and Erica Kursak, who they're homeschooling their kids for the purpose of going into high school to be on mission in high school. Like, okay, this is now your mission field. We've trained you up homeschooling this long in hopes that you'll go be on the mission field someday.
And then among us, of course, you and Kathleen so far have made a different decision than all of us.
Yeah, well, I grew up going to, both of us, my wife and I went to public school, and I had no
Locally,
issues.
right?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I had no issues with it. I loved it. I thought I got a great education, went to, got good grades, and then it propelled me into undergrad and then graduate school. So it was great.
You're not going to do a shout out to your alma mater? Or?
No, it's all right. They don't need it.
I thought you were going to be like, go whatever the mascot is.
No, it's okay. So they're the Blue Devils.
I'm curious.
There it is. There it is.
There
Okay.
you go, the Blue Devils. Shout out to
Satan.
Independence Blue Devils. No, they're actually named after the Union Army in the Civil War, but I don't want to go there either, so it's all right.
but you just did.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
did
I'm like
there.
Brian. So yeah. Anyway, we loved it, but we've chosen, at least for now, private education for 2 of our children. And I think the thought that we had going into is, at the end of the day, of each day, do I want to? I'm not outsourcing my Christian,
Right.
Yeah.
my spiritual development basically for my kids to a school. However, I don't have to unwind things or reteach them things or unlearn them things
Yeah.
that they've learned elsewhere. And I thought, if I can find a school that comes alongside of me belief-wise, value-wise, and reinforces all the Bible stories and the values that we preach and teach at home and through our church and everything, how much greater could it be for my kids to persuade them, to encourage them, to build them up, to just develop them into great followers of Christ. And so we made that decision. But then we've had these debates amongst ourselves, like, if all the Christians left public schools, who would be there? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be that. I do think there's some value to being a Christian within a secular group. And so we might change, as our kids get older, they might want to go. You lose some things with private schools. We don't have good maybe sporting teams, right? And so they might lose some opportunities, but just the value that's placed on, at least with this particular school, reading the Bible, learning God's word, and that.
So your kids are stud athletes, is what you're saying?
No, not yet. They haven't even started. No, I wish.
But they will be if they're like their dad.
Well, it's a little sad because my oldest isn't showing much athletic prowess, and it's like a little disappointing for me because I want to be that.
Well, if we're going to be honest, that probably it comes from their mother.
Well, I'm not
She
going to
was
throw
in-
shade. I'm not going to throw. Yeah,
She
But
was
he's
in
so cute.
theater.
He's so smart. So
Yeah,
He's so smart.
He's got other benefits. Yeah.
yes.
But your wife, Kathleen, who I used to work with very closely, she is more into the arts than athletics.
Which gives them great. I mean, I saw my kids' art drawings from yesterday, and I was like, I never, even in high school and now, I can't draw as well as my kids can, and they're 4 and 5. Like, definitely came from Kathleen.
Well, and her dad, Joe Farini, was pretty sad he didn't have any athletes. So he made up for that by, as he would drive them to the play, he would put on Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, get them riled up for it.
Play.
So I did that. I stole that. I did that
Did you?
with
Oh,
my.
good for you.
That is great.
I'm sure they loved it, right?
Yeah, my 2 boys were in a play together at school, or a musical. I messed it up. I'm
It's
not
okay.
an arts guy.
It's a musical.
Well, I am an arts guy. What I mean, I just wasn't a drama guy. How about that? Even
you
though I
go.
got lots of drama. Come on, here we go.
You
Yeah,
do.
Yes, you
I cranked it up. They didn't know quite what to do, but I was like, this one's for Joe Farini.
Good.
Well, he wasn't
You
even
know
in the
that
car.
Maureen can play Eye of the Tiger on the flute.
Yes,
What?
So
we
that
have
would
been
be
told.
that
Really?
would combine both those, the artsy and the.
She's a flautist
She's a flautist
from the
yeah.
marching
Yeah.
I
band,
love
Flauta.
it.
Isn't that awesome?
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
which, by the way, marching band, sport.
For
It's
sure.
at the
Well, it
sporting
depends.
events.
At Ohio University, the marching
Yeah, they're
band 10,
intense.
right? Or Berea, like they have a marching band that is like crazy intense. Yeah, it
Cheerleading?
depends.
I don't know.
sport?
See, I'm
For sure
I'm
it
on the
is.
fence with that one. I've always
depends.
traditionally said no
About
For-
cheerleading?
about cheerleading being a sport.
Oh, you try getting tossed up in the air and flipping
I'm
around.
not saying there's
No,
not
but-
skill involved. I'm
But
not
see,
saying that at all.
that's competition cheer.
Okay, but it's like gymnastics.
I
Is
would do it,
gymnastics
but
a
this
sport?
camera's going to move around. But I would
please
show
don't.
you. It's considered a
gym-
sport.
We'll splice
Is
in.
gymnastics a
we'll splice
sport?
in.
Just use your fingers. Use your fingers.
Yeah.
Go. Go team. Let's go. Let's go. LETSGO. Let's go.
Use the finger puppets almost, right?
But I say if gymnastics is a sport, cheerleading is a sport.
Oh, for sure. The competitive cheer.
Tumbling.
I mean, if they're tumbling, it's a
Competitive
sport.
cheer, yes.
But if they're just out there,
But please don't. I mean, what? I was going to say triple Lutz, but that's ice skating.
At my high school, they had like the pom squad and then the cheerleaders. And like one was more like dancey and one was
Were
more
you in
like
both?
throwing
you say palm?
pom, like pom poms.
Oh, pom poms.
No, not like Palm Sunday.
Yeah, I was like palm squad. The holy.
A lot of
cheer?
miming. A lot of miming. Palm miming.
The palms. That's like the mascot for a Christian school.
The palms.
They have some of the best mascot names. You remember we talked about that once years
Palm
ago?
branches.
There's like some funny Christian school mascots out there.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of any at the moment because I was a public school
a
kid.
lot of them are crusaders. Yikes.
Which
That's
guys,
bad.
don't do
Yikes.
that.
Right.
Change that. Or
Yeah.
at least they're not the Blue Devils, Nate.
Yeah, the Blue Devils. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So-
Mine were the classic eagles.
Oh, that's biblical.
Eagles,
There's
yeah.
there's eagles in the Bible.
Mine was the Midview Middies. It's the lowest ranked sailor in the Navy. That's pretty encouraging, isn't it? Go fight for your team as the lowest ranked sailor in the Navy.
Where was
Midi.
this? Was this in Ohio?
Yeah, Grafton. Out by my prison.
Oh, right.
My prison.
It's-
For those who
it's-
don't know,
is
look
my
it up.
prison. It's mine. It's mine.
The Midview Middies.
Midview
That
Middies.
is
That's
so
horrible.
dumb.
Yeah.
What were you?
Well, I
let's
mean,
go ahead.
there's a transition. So originally it was the Burnsville Braves,
Okay.
and our mascot was a Native American.
Right.
Sure.
And then we decided that that was not very respectful.
Sure.
So that
Oh,
became,
even back in your day.
excuse me,
This is when the civil rights, all that stuff was
Yeah.
going on.
Martin Luther King Jr. stopped by the high school, and he really, no, it was, goodness sakes, 1995, they changed that before I graduated
Oh, good.
into the Blaze.
The
Our
Blaze,
mascot was
like a
Sparky.
fire.
Yeah.
Sparky
It
the
sounds
Blaze.
so similar to Braves. That's good.
That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But the
For
older,
sure.
the seniors that year were very upset.
That way. Where are you from originally?
Minnesota,
Yeah.
God's country.
God's country. That is so messed up.
She's from like Yugoslavia or whatever.
You're
Where
from
was it?
Yugoslavia.
No.
You lived in Czechoslovakia. There you
No.
go. Czech Republic.
No.
You lived in Prague for a while.
I lived
no.
in Hungary.
Hungary, whatever.
Oh, man.
Hungry, thirsty. I didn't know which one.
Man.
Oh, the Eastern European countries.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're not all the same,
my
for clarity's
gosh.
sake. Just having fun. The camera just zoomed in on me for that. Watch this. I can go like that.
Do it the other way, though.
Other
You
way,
can't get
other
back
way.
out, though.
It's supposed to go back
Talk about
up,
tumbling.
There you go.
back
Now
up.
to your left. Or to your right.
Meow.
Can you go dee dee?
Lauren, can you stand up and dance around just a little bit
No.
for a second?
Hard
just
pass.
wave around. Wave around.
I tried that earlier and it didn't care.
Okay, but as we wrap up, so
Hi.
here's the deal. We all four have
We
different
four.
philosophies
Yes.
when it comes to education. So, solving that problem, are we all going to never speak again when we walk away? And I know you think it's ridiculous, but
Some
Christians
people
do
get scared.
horrible things like that, where they say like, "Oh, you don't homeschool your kid? Wow, you must want them to not be saved." Or you send your kids to public school, what's wrong with you? Or they send a Christian school, what's wrong with you?
But
We all
my-
did. So what, how do we solve this problem?
I mean, one of my best friends, she's homeschooling her kids, and she knows I'm not.
Are you talking, though? You didn't say
Yes.
if you're talking.
Oh yeah, we talk all
Okay.
the time.
Do you
So-
do like snide remarks though?
No.
Do you guys like argue about it?
Nope.
Do you talk about it?
Yeah, we do talk about
Okay.
it. I'll ask like what her kids are learning, what they're doing, any field trips.
Are there pros and cons? Do you guys like talk about
No, we don't talk about like that deep, like the pros and cons.
so you
and
don't
differences.
like you don't get edgy?
No.
Okay.
I'm like, oh great, that's your choice. That's what you're doing, and she's doesn't care about our choice.
So she doesn't say like, but why aren't
How
you homeschooling?
dare you? No, she doesn't.
So why aren't you homeschooling?
I've already told you.
Yeah, aren't you a good Christian woman?
I just wanted to.
Is that what you're implying?
Yeah.
Number one, who's gonna give me money? Number two, I already told you. I think there's value being in the community.
Yeah.
Well, and homeschooling is not for everyone. And I mean, so
oh, I'd be a wreck.
yes, I
Yeah,
would
but
say
some
that.
people would say that that's they would criticize you for making that statement.
That I'd be a wreck.
Yes, my sister-in-law wanted to go back to work like right away. And she got criticized by a lot of people because she said, I don't know if I could stay at home. And got really criticized, which I think is unfair.
So then, how do you advise families that are making this decision? None of us agree, so we've either helped no one or we've done what?
Cause more confusion.
Right, but that's not the point.
I think this is a Christian show, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I love the scripture that
Hey.
says, it's good with the Holy Spirit and it's good with us. And as a couple, like if you're married, then you need to make this decision between the two of you, you know, for your family, like what's best for our family. You pray about it and you say the Holy Spirit has said, or, you know, nudged us this direction. And it's good with the Holy Spirit and it's good with us that we do homeschooling or that we do, you know, you go to the local school or you go to private school. And that is that's a really important thing, I think, that we don't do a lot of in the Christian community. That if it's not clear in Scripture, then it's good with the Holy Spirit and it's good with us.
I also think different people are built for different things in the Christian community.
For sure.
If we, all of us, like, were to homeschool our children, or all of us went to Christian schools, or we all went to public schools, then there's majorities that are missing in different places that are not being reached, or that are not being ministered to. If we all did the same thing, there's no like diversity in our Christian community. We all have different gifts and talents and abilities. I'm like very confident in my ability to talk with my kids about hard subjects, and then I'm going to just go there with them. Some people may not be ready to do that right away, but I am, and so I'm prepared and confident that I can do that. So let's do that. And I think God's called me to that right now, and that's okay if God's called a different family to do homeschooling, because who knows what their kids are going to do in the future, where that homeschooling may have benefited them,
Yes.
or what's God's calling my kids to, hopefully in the future, may it benefit them that they've been in public school.
And how much longer do you think before we'll have the next decision on school choice in Ohio?
Ooh, so they have 30 days to appeal. I'm not sure they filed an appeal, and then that kicks off. I mean, you got 6 months probably from that point till you get to like an oral argument.
At the Supreme Court?
This is just the 10th district. So there's 2 levels of appeals in Ohio. It goes to the district courts of appeals, and then either side is going to appeal that, whatever the decision is, and it'll go to the Supreme Court. So before we have finality, probably at least a year, probably 2 years, unless things are expedited. I mean, this is a huge important topic, so it could be fast tracked a little bit, but courts move slow. That's just the way it works.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your help on that again. Attorney Nathan Zion, Esquire, attorney at law.
Yeah.
You love the Esquire, so I toss it in there. Mulhall Zion LLC. People need to be sure to go check out the website. If you've got estate planning to do, if they've been sued, should they talk to you? Like, who's your...
Yeah, so we don't do like school,
They're
these sorts of
boutique.
things. If you have a claim, we don't do certain litigation. Like school is not our niche, but we do estate planning, business, corporate work, and then real estate matters. And we take on some litigation as well. But we know a ton of attorneys, so if you guys have an issue or a listener has an issue, call us and we can probably find an attorney that we can refer you to.
Again, Mulhall Zion LLC. Will be sure to either have a link on the screen. I'm moving my hands, which was a big mistake for the camera. But maybe in the show notes too.
Sure.
We'll put it in the show notes. And then, of course, the Right Reverend Scott Lessing, known as Pastor Scoot,
Yes.
Scotty the Hottie,
Pastor Scooch.
so many different names.
Yes.
Grace Church, your prison campus, if people want to learn more about that.
Rain Correctional, yeah. GraceCMA.org is a great place to start. We have a lot of information there. You can get to my email through there, scott.lessing@gracecma.org.
What happens at scottlessing.com? Is there anything there yet?
I've never looked it up. I don't know.
Oh, we should look it up.
Could be about you. We just don't know.
It could be.
Oh my
I
gosh.
doubt it. I'm not very
Dear
well known,
diary.
so.
I saw Pastor Scott today.
But all right, that just about does it to our struggle of a first episode. But we're so grateful for the two of you for your support today and for coming in for the first episode, being our guinea pigs with cameras, with minds of their own and everything as we iron out the kinks. You guys are the best. Thanks so much.
No, congrats
Thank
on the
you.
launch. This is great.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
excited
awesome.
for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.